Welcome to another episode of the Mind Game. It's been a few weeks. We put some stuff together. We put a lot of stuff together actually, and we get ready to start rolling them out. I've been delayed, none of which I want to go into at this moment, but I've been delayed with some of my projects. But like I said, we getting ready to roll them out. I wanted to take this time to do a single show because I haven't done one in a long time. And there's some things that I, wanted to address and talk about. And I think that this will be a proper time to do that before we start rolling out our series. I've got two series that I've completed already, and I got one more that I want to do. So once we start doing the series on different topics and subjects and have different people coming in, it won't be interrupted. It'll just be a continuous flow of what I'm trying to accomplish as far as the series are concerned. I did the series on the homeless, and that went fairly well. Got a lot of great feedback. So I decided to do a couple more and then wrap it up here at Cam TV Studios actually. We're I'll say about 3 months behind schedule, but hopefully when this show's there, like I said, for a few weeks, and then we'll roll out the critically acclaimed series that I've just completed, 2 or 3 of them, and go from there. I'm sure that everybody is aware of these past couple of days, what's been happening in the country, and that's what I want to talk about today and touch on a little bit, give my opinion, and then move on. People are blaming the president for other people's actions and saying that he's created this atmosphere of racially charged actions amongst different people throughout the country that has caused great tragedy to people's lives. And that's where we're going to start today. I don't think that the president is at fault directly. Some of the things that he's said in the past may have stirred up this whole movement as far as racism in the country, but people have to look at it in a proper perspective. This ain't nothing new. Racism in America ain't just started with Donald Trump. Racism been here since they brought slaves over here back in when. And even at that, I'm sure that there was some type of racism going on amongst the people that were already here. And in today's society, you have more forms of racism than most people are aware of or even realize. But we're gonna keep it to a minimum and just talk about the things that have been happening over the course of this past week in El Paso, Texas, and also in Dayton, Ohio. Like I said, racism is a terrible thing. It's a symbol of something that I believe no individual should have in his heart, which is hatred. Okay. The president did come out and say that there is no place in America for white supremacy and hatred, of bigotry of any kind towards anybody, and that we are all one. I think that he should have did that a lot sooner, but he did do it. So, we got to just leave it at that. You can't blame him directly for the actions of someone else, although there are some that say the racially motivated atmosphere and environment that he's created since he's been president is the cause of all of this. Once again, you still can't blame the president directly. Does he or should he have some of the blame put on him? From my personal perspective, yeah, you can't deny the things that he said about the Mexicans and some of the things that he said about the blacks. But once again, you have to come back to racism in this country. And it's been a long long, long time that it's been like this, okay? As a black man in this country, I've seen racism towards myself and other black men up close and very, very personal, okay? Just to name a couple of examples, you know, I grew up in those projects out there on 18th Street, and Erie was a unique town in the fact that when we were growing up out there on 18th Street, there was no minorities, and I've stated this before on previous shows. There was no minorities. Erie was 90% white, 6% black, 2% other. Okay, that was it. When we were named an All-American City back in 1976, I think those were the statistics that was published in the census for 1980. It was 90% white, 6% black, 2% other, 2% air. Okay, so that was 100%. And people have to, I think that's the saddest part, the true ignorance as far as the word racism is concerned. Okay, you got racism on every level, okay, of all races, okay? And by that I mean you got racism within the white race, you got racism within the black race, within the Hispanic race, and it's not just a skin color subject, okay? As far as Vernon is concerned, like I said, I grew up out there in those projects, and I can vividly recall one instance that as a teenager really began to open up my eyes as far as the severity and as far as the consequences that racism has, not just on individuals, but on society in general, okay? In the 70s, we were the first group of kids in the history of Erie and in this country, for that matter, that were bused across the city from those projects to Roosevelt Middle School so they could desegregate it, okay? And I can vividly recall every morning get on that bus at 8 o'clock, and we would get across town. It would be 8:30, 8:45, depending on traffic, and then getting on the bus after school, having to ride 30 to 40 minutes back home, depending on traffic. And we did that for 2 years, okay? For me, it was a learning experience, because at that time, that was when, for me anyway, I can only speak for me, my mind was beginning to learn how to learn and how to comprehend things that was going on around me and in my environment. And the most that I took from that experience going across town every day those 2 years was that the people that lived in those nice houses that we were passing going there to Roosevelt, and even the houses around Roosevelt, were beautiful houses at that time, and still is, that the people that lived in those houses were no different than me, having lived in those projects out there on 18th Street, okay? And even to this day, the friendships that I made, when I see some of those people, and I don't often see them, but when I do see them, we remember each other. And we reminisce and recall about the good times that we had. You know, the Irwins and the Hammers and Bizarros and just a slew of kids that I probably, Greg Mando, Sean Jepson, you know, just people that I would have never met probably throughout the course of my life if I hadn't experienced getting on that bus every morning going across town to Roosevelt, okay? And they were no different than me. You know, we all had the same common goal: go to school, get as much education as we can, and get it over with, okay? And that was it. You know, the teachers, they were no different. We didn't have a lot of African American teachers at that time. I don't think we had any at Roosevelt when I was up there, you know, but the teachers that were there were no different than the teachers that I had at Deal, okay, or even would run across at Wayne or East High. You know, those teachers had the same common objective: teach the ones that wanted to be taught and try to reach the ones that didn't, okay? And I guess the overall relationships that I had formed during that time in my life were lifelong relationships. As I began to get older, living out there in the projects, at the end of the middle 70s going toward the end of the 70s, we began to get just a little bit more of the influx of minorities. And one of those groups of minorities that were starting to come into the Erie community were the Puerto Rican community, okay? And I had an experience in my teens that even to this day, I look back on that experience and wondered, you know, what might could have been. And I'm referring to the fact that there was a family, a Puerto Rican family, that moved 2 doors from me. And they had 2 teenage girls that went to East High with us. And I began to have a relationship with one of them. Her name was Liz Murray. And like I said, she stayed 2 doors down from me. And she was in one of my classes at East. And, you know, at nighttime, early evenings, so to speak, sometimes I would go and sit on her porch in the evening. And we'd talk and, you know, talk about different things, different lifestyles, of course, her coming from Puerto Rico to New York and then from New York to Erie to live, and, you know, just things that we didn't have in common that we were curious about, okay? One Sunday, her family had went back to church here in Erie, and she stayed back. And I came home from Methodist Youth Fellowship in the evening time on a Sunday, and went over and was sitting on the back porch, and you know, we were doing what teenagers do. You know, we started kissing, and her mother and father came home, and we didn't hear them coming. And we were sitting on the back porch, and they came, and her father opened up the back door, and he saw us kissing, and he started to speak real fast in Spanish. And I knew when he started saying whatever he was saying, it wasn't good. A couple days later, she didn't come to school, and I went and knocked on the back door, and her father didn't open the door, but he was yelling stuff through the door in Spanish. So I went on back home. The next day when I came home from school, she hadn't been to school in the 3 days, and when I came, I was walking up from the other end of the projects to my house, because we stayed right in the middle, and I looked and I saw all of the windows didn't have no more curtains at them, didn't have no shades or nothing. And I went in the house, and I asked my sister, because my mother hadn't came home from work yet, I asked my sister, I said, hey, where did Liz Murray and them go? Look like ain't nobody in their house. And she said, yeah, I think they moved. And I was like, moved where? You know, and I was completely taken by that, you know, because like I said, we had formed a friendship, and, you know, we was kind of starting to have a relationship. So I went down to the office and asked the housing manager down there, where did Liz Murray and them move to? And she said they moved back to Puerto Rico, okay? Now, all along, Liz Murray had been telling me that her father didn't allow her to have any contact with boys, but more importantly, he had told them when they first moved to the projects that he didn't want them to have anything to do with the blacks, okay? He made that real clear to her, and she made it real clear to me. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why she was attracted to me, because she wanted to find out for herself if we were these horrible people that her mother and father made us out to be. And when she found out that we was just as normal and human as she was kind of confused, okay? As I went on through life, I experienced one more situation. I had moved to Atlanta in my late teens, early 20s to live with my brother. And when I got down there, I got a job at the Peachtree Hotel, one of the best hotels in Atlanta. And my first day on the job, my supervisor put me with this African guy, and his name was Saul. And as soon as we got from around the supervisor on the first day on the job, he told me, he said, "I'm not showing you nothing. I'm from Africa. I'm not a black American. I'm not showing you anything. I'm not telling you anything." I didn't know what to do. I walked around for 2 days just stunned that somebody had even said that to me. So after they found out what was going on, then they put me with his cousin, Sally Yu. It was Saul and Sally Yu was supposed to be training me. And Sally Yu basically said the same thing as Saul. "No, we don't train nobody but Africans," okay? And the reason why I'm saying that is because those two experiences of racism, coupled with all the other experiences that I've had with racism, has made me a better person, okay? I think what it boils down to in America, in Erie, and in the world in general, it's up to the individual, okay? And I've said this before, you can't imagine or begin to comprehend if tomorrow morning everybody that considers themselves an adult, 18 and over, woke up and said to themselves, "From this day going forward, I'm gonna be the best person that I can be, okay? And I'm gonna love and not hate, okay?" You can only imagine what this world would be like if everybody that woke up tomorrow morning said that same thing and then went throughout their day practicing how to love everyone and not hate no one, okay? And that's where I'm at in my life, and that's why doing these shows and hopefully getting CBS or ABC or NBC, CW, Fox, whoever, buy some projects out of my catalog, because I've said this before, all the projects in my catalog, the basic emphasis, the ideology behind it, and more importantly, the objective with every project in my catalog is love, okay? To teach, show, and have people learn how to love. I think that I got the game changer. Ain't no doubt about that in my mind. In my catalog, there's nothing on TV before, during, or after that has ever been seen that I truly believe can bring people together more so than what I can show them through my shows and my projects. Because like I said, the philosophy is very simple. I don't know anybody that can love and hate at the same time, okay? And the objective from all of my projects in the catalog is to love, okay? And I truly believe that it's easier for somebody to love than it is for them to hate, okay? And that's what we gotta start doing on an individual basis, okay? We gotta let everything else go and say that we're gonna love ourselves first so that we can love others, okay? And when we do that, we'll become better as a person, a human being, and then we'll start to go forward as a group, okay? And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. People say a lot of things about me and this, that, and the other, but where I'm at in my life at 55 years old, I'm about love. If I can help you, I'm gonna help you. I don't care who you is or whatever, you know. But my main thing, when I wake up in the morning after I read my Bible and thank God for letting me wake up, is to see who I can love in this world today, okay? Make their day a better day. Show them love and not hate. So, once again, I just think it's on everybody as an individual to make up their mind whether they want to be the best person or just a person, okay, in the world. And the way you can make the difference between that is to love and not hate. We got about 5 minutes left, and I'm gonna take this time to do something I haven't did in a long time. We're gonna talk a little bit about sports. Somebody asked me the other day, we were talking in general, and they said, "Yeah, you seem to like to talk about sports." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And they said, "Well, are you what type of sports fan are you?" And I said, "I'm just a sports fan because, you know, growing up, once again, we have to go back to that. Out there in the projects, whatever season it was, that's what we played. If it was baseball season, we played baseball. If it was basketball season, we played basketball, football, whatever." And having grown up, watching all sports, from golf to hockey to tennis, basketball, football, baseball, whatever, you become an all sports fan, not just a sports fan, all sports you love. But we don't have enough time for me to talk about how I wish Tiger would come on out and win one more major and then get ready to come back next year and finish it off and catch Jack for the most wins. We don't have enough time to talk about. I hope the Yankees can go forward and continue doing what they're doing. So we're going to talk about two of my favorite sports. We're going to start with the NFL. You know, last year I was sitting here in the studio on one of my shows at the end, and I was talking about Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown leaving the Steelers. I really thought that they would never let those guys walk away, and more importantly, walk away and get nothing for them. Okay, I think that was critical. When you got two of the biggest playmakers in the game and you let them just walk away, I don't care. I think the Steelers, at best, will be a playoff team. I don't see them doing anything in the playoffs if they make the playoffs. You can't begin to take that much from your offense. And James Conner and Juju Smith, they're great. They're good players. They got the potential to be great players, but you don't take a Brown and a Le'Veon Bell off your squad and think that you can just replace them because you can't, okay? And it was sad for me to see that they gave Roethlisberger his money, they gave the offensive line their money, but they didn't pay them other two brothers, and I was sad to see that. But I bleed black and gold, and I'm just looking forward to seeing them get back on the field and start hitting somebody, okay? Cleveland's going to be good. They upgraded their offense. That back from Georgia, Chubb, I believe he's going to progress. If him and Mayfield can progress in their second year and do some of the things or most of the things they did last year with the addition of Odell Beckham, they're going to make some noise. Is Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys is making a big mistake. When you sign that contract, Holmes, you supposed to be a man and honor that contract. And he's the best back in football, the best running back in football, pure running back in football. But when you sign a contract, you put your name on that line, you're supposed to honor that. So when that contract is up, they're supposed to pay you what they're supposed to pay you, okay? You don't walk away with 2 years left. And believe me, football is a man's game, okay? You ain't no punk playing professional football because every time you step out there, you can end your career. But I'm a firm believer in when you make a commitment, you honor that commitment. So when you're done with that commitment and it's time to get your money, then they're supposed to pay you. And I just think he's making a big mistake walking away with 2 years left on his deal. I could see if it was 1 year, but he got 2 years left. Quickly to the NBA, been a heck of an offseason. I don't think that the Clippers with all they buzz with Kawhi. He's a champion. He's a total thoroughbred. But I was there that night in Las Vegas at the Mac Center when Paul George got hurt. I was there in the stands. And to me, he ain't never been the same player. And to put those two on the Clippers and right away make them contenders, they got to prove it to me. Okay, Kawhi don't have anything to prove. He's a champion. He didn't play hurt and still became a champion. But just the combination of him and George, I don't think that them two together with the rest of those players on the Clippers are going to get out of the West, okay? Having said that, obviously, with Durant leaving and going to the Nets, the Warriors, they still got their core. Westbrook joined Harden in Houston. They're going to be dynamic, but I think the team in the West and not only the NBA to beat and will eventually become the 1920 NBA champions is that man out there in Los Angeles, okay? LeBron knows what it takes to put a roster together, okay? To put the role players around him, okay? And let's not forget, with Kevin Durant on that team last year on Christmas Day, they went into Golden State and slapped them boys in the face hard, okay? Slapped them hard in the face. And I just believe with his basketball know-how and knowledge, by him getting Anthony Davis, the big man that he wanted, okay, and you throw all of those talented Kuzma in there, and they got seasoned veterans, Rondo, Boogie Cousins. He knows how to put a roster together, and I believe that when it's all said and done, he's still got enough in the tank to bring those boys home to become the NBA champions. Okay, so I'm going out right now before the preseason even starts to say LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be the NBA champions this year. As far as football, in any sport, the golden rule is you go with the champions until they've been dethroned. Although I just picked the Lakers, okay, to be the champions. In football, you got to go with the Patriots. You can't go against Tom Brady until somebody beat him, okay? Having said that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and I'll see y'all again. Thanks for tuning in.